You know, a real comedy club would have had a fucking stool here, so I'm gonna lean over.
Go like, fuck yourself!
Like Jennifer Coolidge in Legally Blonde to bend and snap my beer up in my goddamn mouth.
Solid ref.
I'm ready. That's a good ref. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here in Chicago doing comedy for you rather than the 11 white guys in Louisville that are at every open mic. It's nice to be in front of some different white guys and also women, which I just found out are allowed to come to comedy shows and even perform on them. It's a beautiful country we live in, except for all the bad stuff. All right, those are my riffs. Here's my, I'm going to the material now. You know what should be fucking illegal? Can we do away with the whole selling of retired cop cruisers to any dipshit with $900 and a free Saturday? You sick of living your life on the highway like me? Like reverse Sammy Hagar style, 55 on the dime? I guess it's like Minutemen style, which is pretty cool. But you're stressed because you see what? The Crown Vic lights, the side spotlight behind you. So you're driving on, and then they pass you on the left like you're some kind of a dick. And you look over and you're like, goddamn fuzz. And is it a cop? It is not a cop. It is some dude clearing a bong, finishing his juggalo makeup. Fuck. Man, 2 hours I've been going this slow. I can't get that time back, my ninja. Whoop, whoop. I would give $1 million for my car horn to go whoop whoop. That'd be great. I drive a Prius. It goes meh. It has intimidated 0 juggalos ever, as it turns out. While we're banning things, you know, in that, like, if I were president, I would ban these things. A, men's feet in public. Other thing I would get rid of is the gigantic bar Jenga made out of 2x4s. This is a menace to fucking society. I've already got high blood pressure at a young age. I could do without the 9/11 Recreation Society having their monthly meeting there, trying to relax after a hard day at the high school. I'm a teacher, not a pervert. And, you know, just like, oh my God, did you hear about Sheila's kid? Yeah. Ah! Ah! Jenga. Brad couldn't keep it steady. Gotta go to the doctor. It's cold out there. It was 65 degrees in Louisville when we left this morning. The great thing about the Louisville, Ohio River, you know, Kentuckiana area is that people love talking about the weather and how unpredictable it is. You guys love those conversations like, hey, you don't like the weather? Wait 5 minutes. Or you gotta bring 5 outfits per day. There, it changes so often. Love those conversations. They are riveting. It's so true though, you guys. It's so true. Like this summer, I'm gonna tell you a true story. This summer we had a day in Louisville where the high was 94 degrees and the low was when I tried to flirt with the Panera Bread delivery driver. That is some crazy, man, they were not having it at all. Which I assume is a result of climate change. Because I can think of literally no other explanation that they would not be into it. You know who hates that joke, other than apparently half of you? Is my wife, who was not a fan of that story, which is not actually true. And she was like, oh, did you? Cool, cool. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what was her name? I was like, I didn't say she. At no point did I say she. It's 2000 whatever, baby. It's a spectrum. Love is love. Apparently the male-male, female threesome is not going to be with the Panera Bread delivery driver whenever it does actually happen. I had a good relationship with my parents growing up. I'm an only child, very close with my parents, which was, of course, terrible for my punk rock career, but was great in a lot of other respects. I grew up thinking my parents were fucking hilarious. I thought my parents were so funny. And then I turned 17, and I saw Blazing Saddles. And I was like, oh, oh, you frauds have never had an original thought in your fucking lives. And Richard Pryor wrote every joke you've ever told. You fucking jerks. And the relationship with my parents got me in a little trouble a couple times. Led me to make some bad decisions. Like when I watched Boogie Nights with my mom and my grandma. Oh man, we got through that whole thing, just the three of us. And at the end of it, when Mark Wahlberg whips that motherfucker out, my mom looked at me in the eye and said, not that big. And then I had to remind my mother and her mother that it was soft. And she was like, well, I don't say, oh! Yeah. And my grandma over there in her fucking, I'm an 80-year-old woman recliner, just like. She had a stroke and couldn't talk anymore. And she was still just like, hell yeah. Soft. Raised a lot of questions about my dad because she was unfazed by that thing. I was like, huh. Okay. That's how it is, huh? Cool. I'm of that age where when I was in middle school, there was not an internet, right, that I could functionally use. You know, some of you that may be of that certain age. And I was obsessed when I was in middle school with those like pop culture rumors that were not, you could not corroborate them using the internet. And one of my favorite ones when I was in 7th grade, me and my friends were obsessed with food dye yellow number 5. Yeah. I hear some yes out there, low voice yes. And let me ask you, I love thinking about what yellow number 5 did. Like, for instance, dudes, what did yellow number 5 do?
Shrinks your dick.
Shrinks your dick. Anybody else hear a different one? Shrinks your dick's all you heard?
Shrinks your balls.
Shrinks your balls. Lowers your sperm count. Yep. All of these things. Yellow number 5, it's in everything. I was convinced for at least several weeks in 7th grade that you had to have some amount of yellow number 5 to keep your dick from getting too big. That was flawless logic on our part. We were like, look, no one likes it too big. It's right there in the name. That's too big. Like, people like it big. We're not idiots. We were also the same 7th graders that was like, who does a blowjob benefit? I don't get, there's teeth in there. I don't get why I would like it. I don't get why she would like it. And I was half right in the end. But we were like, yeah, no. Give me a Butterfinger. Give me that 6-pack of Mountain Dew because I don't want it to get too big. That's absurd. If you laugh, the joke was, of course, on me. It didn't get too big. It turns out that of all those rumors, that was correct because it did. Yeah, fucking worked. Thanks, Bart Simpson, influencing me to buy a bunch of Butterfingers. My favorite one, of course, though, was the Marilyn Manson rumor. We all know what Marilyn Manson did.
Oh, yeah.
It was on the little movie picture on the inside of the Tool album, right? Got a rib removed so he could suck his own dick. And when I was in 8th grade, I was like, fuck, this guy's a genius. I mean, I don't care for the music, but man, being able to do that would solve a lot of my problems. I'm in the marching band, y'all. It's not happening for me any other way. And so when I was 18, I was like, hell yeah. I lived right on this, I grew up in San Diego, right on the Mexican border, cheap surgery. I took that graduation money. I was like, fuck you, Mom, I don't care what you think. I'm doing it. I got the surgery. Kind of uncomfortable. You don't like hearing about this, do you? This is speaking truth to power. It worked. I got the surgery and it worked. I was able to suck Marilyn Manson's dick. And halfway through, I was like, I'm starting to think I didn't need surgery for this. This rock star misled me. And I'm starting to think he didn't write that Beautiful People song either. He didn't have any royalty checks in his house. This is stupid as shit. Sucking Marilyn Manson's dick. I would do it now just for the story, to be perfectly honest with you. It's for the experiences, guys. You gotta live for the experiences. Can't take the money with you. I feel like you thought that was dirtier than I meant to. Just leave it on the dresser. I'm also starting to think that maybe this volume of tattoos was a bad choice. Like maybe I got too many of them. They got too big. My dad tried to warn me for years against getting a high volume of tattoos. He was like, you're never going to be able to get a job. And that didn't prove to be true. And he was like, you'll be looked down on by society. And I was like, and? So it was everybody. Who gives a shit? What he did not warn me about is that they would be the cause of every single trash pile conversation I would ever have for the rest of my life. At no point did he warn me that every time I went to any bar in America, some human can of Axe body spray would march right up to me and say unironic shit like, bro, sick tats. But those are the kind of guys you can't tell to fuck off or they'll kill you. And then they'll have to say things like, man, where do you get your art done? Like, friendly advice, don't ever talk to anyone about their tattoos, ever. Because there's no cool way to do it. You can't be like, oh, tats, or ink, or work. They're all stupid. And now I can't, like, and apparently they don't wash off. Nobody tells you that. They don't even make you sign a waiver. Sometimes it's like 1 out of every 100 times that I have a garbage tattoo conversation, I have one that brings me great joy and makes it all worth it. Like I, maybe about 10 years ago, was traveling and I was at a Pittsburgh truck stop eating a Sbarro because I do not have a very high opinion of myself. And the woman behind the counter, taking my order, running the cash register, sweet lady, either in her late 30s or her meth 20s. It's Pittsburgh, it was impossible to tell. She saw this tattoo, which even in this dim light or weird apartment stage lighting, you can tell that's Anne Frank, right? Like you recognize that as a very famous image of Anne Frank. She looked at it and looked at me and went, what's that, Helen Keller or what? And I was like, oh man, no, this is Anne Frank. She's like, oh, Anne Frank, right. So that's the one that like was deaf and couldn't talk or whatever, right? I was like, no, that's Helen Keller. What I'm telling you is that this is Anne Frank. It's not, you don't know what Helen Keller looks like. I guarantee you that is probably the only thing you have in common with Helen Keller. Because I'm pretty sure you, ma'am, are not a radical communist on an FBI watch list like Helen Keller was. Look that shit up. That's a fun read. Because once she learned to read the Braille, she's like, now that I've been reading, you know who makes a lot of sense? Marx. And she was like, well, okay, then, like, who's Anne Frank? What did Anne Frank do? And I was like, it's an interesting question. Not much. She did die kind of young. She was a quiet girl. But really, she wrote a book. You know, she wrote a diary while she was hiding from the Nazis, and it's like an inspirational tome about really how people are decent and good, and that good, decent things will rise to the top. And I looked at her, and she was kind of glazing over, and I was like, oh, lost her at book. Oh, well. My name is Rob Montage. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Delmy. And if Ashley ever gets here, I guess, thanks for doing it.